Hey everybody, Kenny here. So this is going to be a series of mid-league builds that I'm putting out mainly because I messed up and just ran out of content. and these were builds that I was working on for next league, but I'm breaking them out early just so I have something on my channel for the for this week. For anyone who hasn't watched any of my build videos before, I make builds for casual Path of Exile players. That means, you know, if you're someone who has thousands of hours in the game and have regularly gone to pinnacle content and wrecked the like the Ubers and all that, then this is not for you. This is content for people who maybe they'll get to maps. Maybe they'll get there. Maybe they'll finish the campaign. But sometimes not. You know, like casual is casual. You know, casual means that you don't really have too much time to play the game. So you're just looking for something that is fun for the interim of when you have time to play the game. Yeah, so with that out of the way, these builds are also always going to be centered around transfigured gems. So those are special versions of the gems that exist in Path of Exile that have special effects that are different than the core gems in the game, just to add a little extra flavor to what we're doing here. Out of the way, let's get going. So in this one, we're going to be going over an update to my Raider build from the Affliction League, which is now the Warden as of the 3.25 League. So in the Affliction League, like, you know, the way that this character was set up was pretty much only viable for the Affliction League because of the Affliction Ascendancy classes. But with the addition of the Warden and tinctures to the game, I'm able to bring it back in a semblance of what it was. We can see that defensively, this character is not what they used to be. I had to give up a lot of defenses in order to kind of bring them back into a kind of viable form. So we lost a lot of our avoidance. We still have a very good amount of block chance, or both attack and spell block chance. But our spell suppress is pretty much nothing now. Our avoidance is pretty much nothing now. Our evasion and physical damage reduction are okay, but not great. And our resistances are no longer capped out. Now going over the Raider skill choices that I made, I went down into Oath of Spring. What Oath of Spring does is that we're only able to create a shock effect of 2%, but it can stack up to 50 times on each enemy's, which means that technically you can get a higher shock value than you could with regular shock. But like, you know, like getting 50 shocks on an enemy would require you to have an insane number of attacks per second. So it's unlikely to be able to accomplish that, but it does allow us to do a kind of interesting build, which is what I built on for this. And then I went up to Enduring Suffusion, which makes it that when our tinctures wear off, we actually get to keep the effect for a certain amount of time based on the number of mana burn stacks that we had when it was deactivated, which, as you're going to see, is going to be for a very long time. And then it also makes it that we have a reduced, well, we have less mana burn rate, so we burn for a lot less of our mana when they are active. And then Experienced Herbalist makes it that we can have 2 tinctures active at once. And the tinctures that we are using are the Prismatic Tincture, which makes it that we deal increased elemental damage with melee weapons. And I crafted these so that they have So reduced mana burn rate and increased melee weapon attack speed while the tincture is active. And then also the Rose Thorn Tincture, which gives us increased critical strike chance with melee weapons. And I crafted it so that it has an even higher critical strike chance. The highlights for the whole tincture thing is that we went into this cluster here, which gets us a further reduced mana burn rate and makes it that we have a chance not to receive any mana burn. So basically, like whatever the rate is of your mana burn, so we can see that for our Rose Thorn, our mana burn is every 0.7 seconds, and for our Prismatic Tincture of Skill is every 0.8 seconds. But basically, like each of those intervals, like there's a 15% chance that it won't happen. So that's a very big one. But to have this, it makes it that we can go for very long. Then I got the Tincture Mastery so that the first 6 mana burn don't have any effect. For the first, so it'll go. I mean, mind you, like our mana burn is going to tick up very fast because we're using 2 different ones. So each of these intervals will cause us a single mana burn. So this one will go off, and then 0.12 seconds later, this one will go off, and so every second we get 2. We get at least 2 mana burn every second. So so getting this mastery isn't huge, but it is helpful. And we also got this tincture cluster here, so that our tinctures have increased effect, and also our flasks are a little more effective. And we also got Nature's Concoction, so that any flasks that are adjacent to our tinctures gain charges when we hit an enemy. And so for that, I have a bismuth flask sitting next to my prismatic tincture, and I have this overflowing chalice sitting next to my rose thorn tincture. I'm not using my Kiara's determination because of the fact that we're no longer overcapped on all our resistances. So I'm using the bismuth to bring us back up to where we need to be. And then I have a enchantment on the bismuth so that anytime I use my steel skin is when I use this flask, so that it's pretty much always up, and it lasts for 8 seconds. So basically, it's always up. And the effect of overflowing chalice is that while it's active, and it lasts for 8 seconds, so during its effect, all other flasks gain their charges much faster. But you'll see that this thing basically never runs out of charges. I mean, as long as our tinctures are up, it'll never run out of charges. Our gear is basically exactly what we were wearing at the end of the Affliction League. We're still wearing the same gloves, still wearing the same belt with the same hypnotic eye jewel in it, still wearing the same boots. The chest, I honestly don't remember. I think I linked this. I'm pretty sure this is the same chest that I had, but I linked it. It's the only difference between what I had at the end of the Affliction League and what I have now. Then same rings, same amulet. Well, actually, no. I think I did make some changes to my accessories, because I think I added the mana regeneration. Yes, yeah, that is what happened. Yeah, so all of these I think are different, because I changed these out for mana regeneration so that we could run our tinctures for longer. Yeah, so that's an important change, and something you very much have to think about if you want to do what I'm doing here. We need a lot of mana regen. You can see that my mana regen rate in town is 98. Well, actually, is that with with clarity up? Yeah, so we're generating 98 mana per second, and so without these, we would not be able to get nearly as much mana out of this as we could. And we need to be regenerating mana very fast so that we're able to keep this going as long as we can. And then in our tree, something that is incredibly important that we cannot do without in order to make this work is this cluster right here, which we also were using during the Affliction League. By getting Poisonous Fangs, this isn't really important. It just basically is for the extra attack speed. So we picked this cluster for the attack speed, but what we really picked this for is the mastery that our Offhand Claw gets us 25 mana per enemy hit. And we're using Poacher's Mark so that any enemies that are cursed by our mark give us even more mana per hit. So if we're fighting a rare enemy or a unique enemy, then throwing on a Poacher's Mark on them will make it that there is no way we can run out of mana. It is impossible. We're going to be attacking way too fast for the mana burn to actually run out, cause us to run out, like no matter how high it gets. Which is actually untrue. Like, it's not... I'm exaggerating there. But it's going to get... You're going to see that our mana burn is going to get very high. We're going to be able to get very high mana burn, which is why this setup works so well. Because we are pretty much focusing on lightning damage here is why I'm using Herald of Thunder. But it isn't a necessary part of the build. It's just, we're trying to get as much lightning damage in here as we can. So having Herald of Thunder is good to have. As 124, we're using Steel Skin, which makes it that we're immune to bleeding during the effect and have a shield on us that is a little buffer for damage. But its main purpose is that, we get that nice little buffer, and it automatically casts our Bismuth Flask so that we're always capped out on our elemental resistances. Using Dash as our movement skill. We're using a Summon Ice Golem that is being supported by Minion Knife and Elemental Army, so that it can last a bit longer and grant us some more accuracy and crit chance. And then our main skill here is we are using Blade Flurry of Incision, which is a transfigured version of Blade Flurry that causes you to gain more critical strike chance for each stage. And it stacks up to 6 stages. So by the time you're all the way up, you're guaranteed to be critting. Since as we can see here, our critical strike chance is fairly low, but it is constantly building while we are building stages, is being enhanced by our golem, and is being further enhanced whenever our Rose Thorn tincture is up. So we crit very often, despite the fact that we aren't super invested in crit chance. And then we're supporting our skill with Ice Bite, so we get some extra damage, as well as making it that when we kill frozen enemies, we have a chance to gain Frenzy Charges, which then give us even more cold damage. And we're using Life Tap so that we aren't wasting our mana unnecessarily, since we need our mana for our tinctures. And then we are using Cast While Channeling to make it that we are casting Lightning Conduit while we're using Blade Flurry. And Lightning Conduit is a skill that requires an enemy to be shocked in order to deal its damage. So if an enemy is not shocked, then Lightning Conduit does nothing. But if an enemy is shocked, then you'll see just lightning just striking down all around, which is very cool looking. And I am all about making builds that look cool, no matter how effective they are. For our claws, our main hand claw gives us some flat life, and our offhand claw gives us some life leech. And we have some extra critical strike multiplier on our main claw and on our offhand claw, as well as a lot of extra attack speed. As with the Affliction League, we are heavily invested in block chance, so we're still in the block area here. So extra block chance, extra block and attack speed while dual wielding, extra chance to block while dual wielding and a chance to gain friendly charges when we block. And the block mastery so that we have increased spell damage per chance to block attack damage. Then in the dual wield cluster here, the extra block, extra damage and block, and blade barrier so that we have a larger chance to block attack damage while dual wielding. We have a nice increase to our block recovery, and we deal even more damage while we're dual wielding. And we got the dual wield mastery so that we have increased chance to block if we have not blocked recently. And then of course versatile combatant so that we have reduced maximum block chance, but the more block chance we have over our block chance cap, the more spell block chance we have. And then the new dual wield block chance cluster over here for the extra dual wield attack speed and block, as well as increased movement speed while dual wielding, on top of our extra chance to block attack damage while dual wielding. And then we grab this mana cluster over here, so we get reduced mana cost of our attacks, gain physical damage as mana, and the mana mastery to make it that we regenerate some flat mana, which is important for us. And then in this section here, we grab up to cloth and chain, so we have the extra evasion and armor, as well as the big bump to our elemental resistances, as well as the armor and evasion mastery to give ourselves even more block recovery. And that's everything of note from the tree that we need to discuss. Yes, let's go see it in action. As we can see that, we're just like constantly, like lightning is just constantly pouring down on enemies.
I'm not up to that just yet.
We're just constantly causing shock. And then our blast go on cooldown. I mean, our tinctures go on cooldown, but like the effect that we have from them lasts for quite a bit. As you can see that so far, like our tinctures have lasted through any encounter that we've had.
grow from your remains.
Yeah, look, it's our old friend, the Wild Abomination. Didn't even know they could show up in maps. First time seeing one. And you can see that, you know, our mana burn just keeps on building. And we can see that our mana we want to go out of mana, but it's just not happening because we're just replenishing our mana way too fast. Remember, every single stack of mana burn, you are burning for that percentage of your total mana per second. Yeah, so now we finally went and overdid it on the mana burn, but it took a long time to happen. And because of the extra life that we're getting from both the claw mastery that we took, as well as the claws that we're using, and the bonus from our poacher's mark, like, even though like our main skill is consuming our health in order to use it, like, we're basically immortal. Like, we have to get hit very hard and not evade it, not block it, just take a full hit in order for us to be in real danger with this character. We can just pretty much face tank just about anything. Oh, I had forgotten that these things do that. Yeah, when you do I forget, ritual, is that what this thing's called? I don't remember. Whenever you do these things, if there is a unique near it, then it summons the unique as one of the enemies. And I forgot about that. It's a mechanic that has always been part of this. Oh, something I didn't bring up when I was going over my gear. The overflowing chalice also counts as a sulfur flask. And a feature of sulfur flasks is that they cause you to deal 40% increased damage while they're active. That is another source of extra damage in the build. What's funny about this enemy, because they have the invulnerability aura, they actually make it that they severely limit their ability to become a crazy powerful Soul Eater mob. But since the enemies around us can't die, like you can't be constantly pumped up by just random deaths around it. I'll make sure to speed up these longer encounters in post and put like a little graphic on the screen to let you know that I'm speeding it up, so that like speeding it up, it doesn't misrepresent like the build. Like, this is a build meant to outlast and look awesome doing it. Not a build designed to deal damage. Come on. Yeah, now we gotta step away because we need a target for our curse before we can continue on. And when you have that lightning strike one, there's no telling when that'll overwhelm you. There we go.
That would only slow me down.
Yeah, so we have some absolutely epic ability to outlast enemies here. And there we go. Yeah, so you can see it. It's an extremely effective build in terms of just sustainment. Like, it's pretty much impossible to die using this build. At least, you know, like in the first like probably nine tiers of mapping, from like anywhere in the campaign to like tier 9 of mapping. It's probably impossible to die with this character. Like from tier 10 to tier 17, I'm pretty sure there'll probably be like a lot of counters that you'll run into. But prior to that, like, you know, it's very, very cool, like a very cool little setup. Though, you know, obviously like very bespoke, you know, like you don't need to have an overflowing chalice, but you definitely need to, like, you know, like in order to have damage, you need to have at least what I have going here. I mean, like, you could switch it up to something like a bleed build or something, you know, because there's bleed flasks, but, you know, like, you would still want to make sure that, you know, whatever tinctures you have going, like, are compatible with whatever you decide to do. Again, the only issue is that because the Warden is more elementally based, and like, you don't really have stuff that really synergizes well. You know, so going for Oath of Winter, Oath of Summer, and Avatar of the Wilds, like, you know, like none of those really do anything if you decide to go poison or bleed, you know, as the way you want to use the character. Like, another like kind of like interesting thing you could do is you could, instead of going up into the shadow area for the extra damage and you know, just to make your elemental damage and crit chance and regular damages better, you could instead head over into kind of the Marauder area and kind of like go into like knockback, which might be like a really neat thing to do with like a channeling skill that, you know, is meant to like constantly give you recovery back all the time. Like, if just like all the time you're just like hitting enemies and knocking them away from you, to give yourself some extra breathing room and also to reduce their chance of hitting you for not being close enough to hit with their regular melee attacks. That's an option of something to do. You could also maybe go for Rage. Like, Rage might make it that, you know, you're able to hit a lot harder. Yeah, but like, my focus was just on making it that this character was still viable as an option for something to do as a more like low investment character, you know, because there's nothing like super overpowered going on here. Like, I think that, yeah, like, I'm using some fractured boots because they get us a little more defenses. You know, and they have that nice cast resistance on it. That's really like all the boots are doing for us. You know, nothing we have here is like super overpowered. You know, there's no like incredibly, like, you know, like these gloves here. Like, these were gloves that I got, I think, in like Act 5 or 6 during the campaign, during the Affliction League. And the only reason I kept them is because they happen to have suppress on them, and suppress a decent amount of flat life. Actually, you know what? Actually, is this the same gloves? These might be different gloves. I was thinking that the gloves that I had attack speed on them. I don't see the attack speed, so maybe these are different gloves. Yeah, I don't level 47. No, these are those gloves. For some reason, I was thinking that they had attack speed as well. They don't. Yeah, but like, you know, like, there's nothing like crazy on here. Like, you know, I have a Stygian Vice, which is something that you get from Abyss encounters, like when the spires pop up, which is a rare occurrence to happen, but I had happen like I think in like Act 6, and when I went during the Affliction League with this character, like, it was like weirdly early. I saw one of those. It was possible to get one of these early on while you're leveling, but it's not something you can count on. And then, you know, like, and then this chest piece is a decent chest piece. Like, it doesn't have to be a 5-link. You know, like, I did the 5-link just so I could do the whole cast while channeling thing. But like I didn't need to do that. I could have kept it as a 4-link and just did Blade Flurry with Ice Bite, Life Tap, and something else that enhances Blade Flurry. It could have been momentum or faster attacks. It would have been pretty much the same amount of damage, just not as flashy. Yeah, that is it for this one. Thanks everybody for stopping by and checking out. If you found these tips useful, I appreciate doing YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Fae Victus, Bars Maris, and bye.